What is up everyone, it's Saber here and welcome to another Naruto What If. If you end up liking the video, please consider subscribing. It's free and you can take it back at any time and it really helps me out, and this is my second channel, so if you want some more what ifs, go check out my other channels. And with all of the YouTube formalities out of the way, let's get into it. A smile found its way across Naruto's face. Only one thought came into his mind when he saw the black crow standing on top of one of his flowers. Itachi. So finally Itachi had come to Konoha. It had only been a week and a half since he returned to Konoha. Nothing serious has been happening as of yet. He had been staying inside the walls of the village. There were no missions for him to do. Tsunade seemed reluctant to allow him to do any higher ranked mission. She was only willing to give him C rank and lower, but with the boredom that had taken refuge within him, he was surely going to have to take the missions. Going outside the village would be pleasant. He walked over to the crow and stretched out his hand. The crow flew onto his stretched hand. He locked eyes with it. He knew where Itachi was waiting for him. He was probably not taking any chance by coming into his house. He would not have minded though. If Itachi had come, he would have set up privacy seals just to make sure that no one eavesdropped while they talked. He was also positive that Itachi knew the layout of the village to be able to come in and out without anyone noticing, but with how things were, he could understand Itachi's reasoning in staying out of the village. He had given Itachi the Eurasian kunai. He was wondering why the Uchiha had not used it. Oh, how forgetting of him. Itachi had said he would only use it on emergencies, so anything that was not a life and death matter he would not be using the kunai. Sighing, Naruto burst into a flock of crows. Itachi had chosen a good place for them to meet. It was just outside of Konoha, but nowhere near where Anbu kept constant watch over the village. Anbu always patrolled near the village walls, especially at night. Good thing it was still day. I was wondering when you would come, Naruto said, walking over to the stoic Uchiha, who was seated on a tree branch. You have grown bored already? Itachi asked him. It sounded like, what took you so long? He assumed that Naruto had already grown bored with being around Konoha. Yes, Naruto said with a nod. He stopped walking and sat down, leaning against the tree Itachi was sitting on. There's nothing interesting to do inside the village. The only thing that seems to keep entertained are a few sparring sessions with Guy and Lee, he explained, his eyes staring down the ground. Odd. They never did the greetings like every normal people did. They just moved on with the flow. Well, they were not normal people. Their conversations weren't like what other people had. There was no need for greetings. If Itachi was not well, he could have already seen it, and if he was not well, Itachi would have seen it without him saying anything. That was how it was. You were training with Guy? Itachi asked with a raised brow. Yes, despite his ridiculous training methods, he is a taijutsu master. Something I am not. I can learn something from him. You never do stop training, Itachi said, shaking his head slightly. Naruto always wanted to become strong. He was always training. He always wanted to find new ways to become strong. The blonde always spent his time trying to invent new things that even he could not understand and creating jutsus that he could not even hope to learn. There can never be too much of training. Each day we always learn something new. We always improve on ourselves, Naruto responded, not even looking up to Itachi as he did. Because we are alive. Yes, the international criminal admitted, but you have to know your limits when you become too engrossed with training, becoming strong and gaining the knowledge of the world. It will change you and you will become obsessed. At speaking of Orochimaru, he is a prime example. All his life he has been obsessed with gaining everything there is and learning all jutsus in the world. Look at where he is now. It was no secret that Orochimaru of the Snake Sannin was obsessed with gaining all the knowledge of the world. His obsession has led him to do so many experiments on himself and others. Correct, Naruto said, but that is because Orochimaru was messed up from the beginning. He has no moral values and loves too much power. Aren't you messed up from birth? What about when you have gained too much power? Will you not think back of your childhood and reason that with the power you have you can change everything, make those who pained you suffer? That will depend, Naruto said, not denying anything Itachi had said. On my mindset, with the correct mindset and someone to always put me in correct path, someone to remind me of my purpose. Something like that can never happen. Understand this, Naruto. Itachi said, you will not always have someone to guide you and support you. There will be times where you have to find your way on your own, times where you have to stand on your own without anyone helping you out. I know that, the blonde-haired Namikaze said, casting his eyes over the green trees. The fire country was lively. If he could enter sage mode, he could feel it perfectly and be one with it. What are you planning now? Itachi asked, getting to business. This was why he liked Itachi. They talked serious matters. Nothing as of yet, Naruto answered. My plans will depend on the shape and mindset of the elemental nations over the next month. You think things will change from what they are now? Yes, I believe so. Itachi merely nodded. In the meantime, I have something for you. Naruto waited for what Itachi had for him. I am just coming from Amigakure. I spoke to Konan. Itachi said, I told her you would visit her And I believe she will be a good friend on your path and someone who will always support you should you convince her to join you. So like Itachi to look out for him. When did you say I would visit? I did not say, I just made sure that she was expecting your visit. I will make time, Naruto said and paused for a moment. Has she finished rebuilding aim? Itachi shook his head. No, but it will be soon. She had some difficulties because during Pain's reign the village was not allied with any other. Therefore she had no help from other villages. It must have been hard for her doing all that alone. She was doing it alone at first, but after I spoke with her some time ago, she got help from those she leads. Let me guess, you told her that speech about one not being able to achieve anything on your own. Yes, do you not agree? Itachi asked, sensing something from Naruto's words. No, it just amuses me how you get passionate when you speak about it, but I guess it is because it is one of your biggest mistake that led you to realize that you will also make mistakes and learn something from them. Perhaps are you afraid? Itachi asked suddenly out of nowhere of what failure all your predecessors have so far failed. The path you have chosen to take is not an easy one. None have succeeded. Those who failed were even greater than you as you are now. Once a man comforts to fear, he cannot move on, he cannot see a way forward. Fear can cripple even the greatest of the great. It can be the difference between life and death, success and failure. Naruto paused for a moment. When fear of failure consumes you, you start to question yourself. What if I fall? Will everyone laugh at me? Will I even succeed? Nobody as yet has passed. What is special about me? Will I lose everything if I fail? But you know what, Nissan? Naruto looked up to the heavens. I am not afraid. If I perish, I perish trying. If I fail once, I will get up again and try to succeed until there is no life in me. The words were said with so much conviction that Itachi smiled for a moment and adopted a proud look on his face. Not that Naruto could see it. He said nothing further to what the blonde had said. There was no need to. He had said it all. Someone is coming, Naruto said, getting on his feet. Itachi nodded. I sense him too. The chakra felt familiar, so much familiar. I will teleport to the hideout in a few days to tell you of when I will see Konan so we could go together, Naruto said. Looking at Itachi, by the look on the Uchiha, he knew who it was coming. Perhaps the person had an Itachi radar with him. He did not comment, though it was not important. Itachi nodded and gave a last glance to where he was sensing the familiar chakra. Without another word, he disappeared in a flock of crows. Naruto did not bother to look at the direction Itachi had glanced at. He did not care, and it was not of importance to him. He simply just disappeared in a yellow flash. He did not leave his scent or chakra signature, not even a trace of it. Naruto's house, though he never showed it. He was quite excited to visit Amigakure. Itachi had informed him a little about Konan. He wanted to know more about her. He was curious. She was the only female member of the Akatsuki, had been living with a guy who had a god complex. He had been told she rarely spoke during the Akatsuki meetings, which meant she had to be one serious woman. She was also an orphan who lived through the Second and Third Shinobi World War. All that made up for something that spelled interesting to him. A small smile flit through his face. Yep, the meeting was bound to be interesting for sure. He just had to make time to go there. If he could get Tsunade to give him a solo mission outside the village, he could go to Amigakure after completing the mission. His cause was still being delayed by the fact that he had yet to make a name for himself. He was not going to use his Namikaze name to gain fame. He was his own man. He would make his own fame by doing great things. Speaking of his name, the night he had met with his friends, he never told them that the Yondaime was his father. It was quite amusing when he saw Sakura's expression after she had learned of his heritage from Tsunade. She had called his friends to inform them because he did not think it was much of a big deal. Perhaps when he had been younger he would have thought so, but now he thought differently. He understood that his father's achievements were he may be a son to him, but his achievements were reached through his own efforts. He would also achieve many things through his efforts. Boasting that he was the son of Konoha's greatest hero would do him no good, but living to become greater than the greatest hero in Konoha would. There was also the fact that he did not want to live under his father's shadow like Konohamaru did, living under the shadow of his grandfather. Not all his friends had been shocked to hear the revelation, though. Well, it was obvious with his looks, and it was just a matter of time before the villagers realized it too. It would not matter to him, though. Naruto walked slowly to his study. He closed the door behind him and went behind his desk. He picked up a blank scroll and began scribing his book. Later that afternoon, that was another good training. Naruto-kun, Guy exclaimed happily, looking at Blonde, who was unseated beside Lee, looking heavily tired. Your speed never ceases to amaze me. It's hard to believe you started training to increase your speed 3 years ago. If you had started the same time as Lee, you would probably have been just fast as me without my weights. Truly, he was impressed. Not even his eternal rival could match him in speed and force him to release his weights. Well, not all of them. Still, Naruto was in the same league in speed with Lee when the latter was not wearing his weights. Naruto shook his head, smiling weakly. With your speed, I might have to start wearing Waits again just to catch up on you. You are way faster than me, and for me to be able to contend with your speed I have to use chakra to enhance my own speed, he said, looking at the green beast of Konoha. In all truth, the guy was a freak. When it came to speed he had thought Itachi was fast, but no, guy was a lot faster. Well, he was a taijutsu master. That is to be expected from someone like him. He still had not yet tested his speed while in sage mode with the green beast, but he would not try that anytime soon. As far as everyone in Konoha was concerned, he did not know senjutsu. Not even Jiraiya knew. The toads had not told him yet. You should be proud of what you have achieved, guy said. This time his voice was down. It takes years and hard work to make it to the top. You are still young. I have no doubt that in the next years you and Lee will be the fastest shinobi in Konoha. He did not know that Naruto could go faster with aeration. The blonde had kept it to himself that he could use the Flying Thunder God technique. Only Tsunade, Jiraiya, and possibly Kakashi knew he liked it that way. He wanted to keep it as one of his ace cards. Lee smiled brightly, looking at his sensei. You mean that guy sensei? He asked, feeling quite happy that his beloved sensei had said he could become the fastest in Konoha in a few years. Yes, my student, guy answered, smiling at his green student. I have no doubt that with your guts and determination you will surpass me in speed and taijutsu. Yash, I shall. Before Lee could finish his sentence, Naruto cut him off. Lee, Naruto said calmly, you weren't just about to say that you were going to train harder than you have been, were you? Lee scratched his head nervously, making Naruto shake his head. How many times have we gone through this, Lee? I told you you cannot add more weight to your current training regime or your body won't be able to handle it. He had placed a gravity seal on Lee to increase his speed. Since Lee could not utilize the little chakra he had designed the seal especially for Lee, but like all gravity seals it carried some risks. Lee had to train at a given program that Naruto had designed. This would ensure that his body did not take in more than he could handle. Lee also wore his weights while he had the gravity seal on him. That put a lot of strain on his body, more specifically his muscles. Should he overdo it, his muscles would tear at every part of his body little by little, and Lee would only notice it when it was too late. Or if something like that was to happen, Lee would never become a shinobi again. Considering what Gaara had done to him during the Chunin exams, the gravity seal Naruto had created was special in some sense, because it did not restrict parts of Lee's body, it restricted his entire body. If a Hyuga could look at Lee with their Byakugan, she could see a seal around Lee's entire body. The seal also restricted Lee's movements, and pulled him down each time he got used to the restriction. That meant that the more Lee trained, the more the seal restricted his body. Like everything else, a body had its own limits. With each increase in restriction, his body would also be reaching its limits. Lee might not feel it on his body that he had reached his limit before something goes wrong. Even the gravity seal does not know when the body will reach its limit. That is why it will continue to add more weight and restricting Lee. Because of this, he had designed the seal to function for a month before giving out. Once that is accomplished, Lee could train as hard as he could because he would no longer have the gravity seal on him. However, the results would be satisfactory. I get carried away sometimes, Lee said. You will train as hard as you want. After 3 more weeks I just need you to follow that program I gave you and everything will be alright. After I take off the seal you will see the difference, Naruto explained to Lee. Lee nodded, but he was happy. He could not wait for the 3 weeks to be complete so he could see how fast he had become. Listen to Naruto-kun, Lee guy said, agreeing with Naruto. He had listened carefully when Naruto explained the dangers of using the gravity seal he had designed. As much as he loved his student and wanted him to become strong, he did not want him to kill his shinobi career carelessly by doing something he was told abundantly not to do. We also don't want you injured before the exam, guy stated, smiling. In the next month a few Chunins were going to take the Jounin exams. Within the village, Lee, being only skilled in taijutsu, had to improve as much as he could before he took the exams to have more chances of succeeding. Sorry, Guy Sensei, I will be careful from now on, Lee said. Guy nodded and turned to Naruto, who was picking up his sword. How good are you with it? I have never seen you use it before, he asked the blonde. I have not tested myself against some hailed as a kenjutsu master, but my skills with a sword are about Jounin level. As for using it, I rarely use it, even though I walk everywhere with it. Guy nodded. So I guess you were given it as a gift, he deduced. The only way someone would carry a blade such as the sword of the Thunder God without even attempting to use it whenever she got into a fight was if it was a gift. This meant that Naruto valued it highly and would only use it to someone he feels worthy of it. Yes, Naruto said, not denying anything. Besides, there is no one in Konoha who can test me in kenjutsu. Kakashi no longer uses a blade, and the only person who was a kenjutsu master in the village was killed during the Chunin exams about 3 years ago. I might help you with that, a lazy voice of Kakashi said, appearing into the training ground. Naruto raised a brow at the man's appearance. He had certainly not sensed the man when he appeared. Perhaps it was because he was relaxed with the two and was tired, but even when he was Relaxed, he should have sensed his former sensei. Well, the man was a former ANBU, he could still surprise him. Kakashi, my eternal rival, when did you get here? Guy asked happily, not bothered by his presence a few minutes ago. The famed copy ninja replied with a nonchalant shrug of his shoulder. You can still use a sword like you used to? Naruto asked. He had never seen the man use a sword before, but he had been told that before Kakashi got his Sharingan he used to carry a sword even when he was ANBU. And was very good with it. Yes, but I doubt I would be of much challenge to you, Kakashi replied, looking at Naruto. However, I do know someone who can help you. Who? Kakashi merely smiled at the blonde. You will see her, he said. So it's a she, Naruto concluded. He looked at Guy and Lee. I will see you tomorrow, he said, and disappeared into nothingness. Guy looked at Kakashi curiously. There seemed to be some emotions that ran through his face when Naruto disappeared. Without even sparing him a glance, he guessed the reason the Jounin had come to the training ground was to speak with Naruto. Shaking his head, he walked over to the Jounin and patted him on his shoulder. Kakashi merely smiled weakly. Lee, let's go do your afternoon laps, the green beast said to his student. Hi, Guy-sensei. Kakashi watched them go about their business with a slight sad look on his face. If he had not messed things up when he had the chance, he would have been also doing laps, or something of that line with Naruto. He would have been like an older brother to the blonde, but he failed to do anything. He was a failure. Without another word, he disappeared in a swirl of leaves to the memorial stones. Memorial stones. Kakashi was surprised to see Naruto at the memorial stones. He had only seen him once at this place. Even so, then he did not look like someone who was having regrets or mourning. He was just there looking at the stones with a blank stare. He could never figure what the blonde had in his mind. I knew that if I disappeared like that you would come here, Naruto said suddenly, not even looking at Kakashi. The famed Jounin silently walked towards Naruto and stood beside him but said nothing. What could he say? It is what you do, right? Each time you try to speak with me I simply shut the door on your face, never giving you any chance to say what you wish to say. The blonde paused for a moment and looked at the heavens. It's about to rain, he thought. During his training with Guy, the clouds had begun to gather around. Each time I did that you came here to confess. Remind yourself of how much of a failure you are. Each time that happened I simply watched with disinterest. I never thought of helping you while you drown in your sorrows. Do you know why? He paused again, taking his off the heavens. I did not pity you enough to bring myself to help you. To be quite frank, seeing you repeatedly confess you were sorry was not the least amusing and not a sight I want to keep seeing, and that is why we are here today. Kakashi remained quiet. It appeared that Naruto was not done speaking. He still wanted to speak. He would say something when given the chance. Do you know what I thought each time I watched your therapy sessions? Pathetic. I asked myself, was this the man trained by my father? Was this the man many consider as the strongest in the village? Was this the man my father saw as someone who could succeed him as Hokage? The answer was no. Naruto continued speaking, before pausing. What I was seeing was a pathetic man with serious mental issues. I was seeing a man who was lost in his own failures. So Kakashi, say what you wish to say. Kakashi did not respond immediately. Naruto was not being gentle with him. He was quite harsh and frank. He had not expected their conversation to begin the way it had. Regardless, this was his chance. Naruto, he said. After a few minutes of silence, the called blonde was waiting patiently for the Jounin to speak. Sensei was more than just a teacher to me. He treated me like family, and I saw him as someone to look up to. He was always there for me. My teammates, when your mother became pregnant with you, Sensei was overjoyed. I too was happy. By that time I had already lost all my teammates, and the only friend I had was Guy. I was happy that I would have someone to call a little brother, but Sensei died. I had already lost my mother, father, but my father's death was the one to have affected me the most. My teammates were dead already, and when your father died it was too much for me. Everyone I cared for had died, and I could not do anything to save them. I thought I would make up for my failures by looking after you since Sensei was gone, but the Sandane forbid it. He told me to stay away from you. For years I had to watch you tormented by the hatred from the villagers. The fact that I could do nothing reminded me of how much of a failure I was. When you entered the academy I knew that one day you would graduate. It was my chance to make up for my failures. I quit ANBU and returned to serving Konoha as Jounin. When I became your sensei I was happy, but again I failed to teach you anything. Sensei taught me his signature jutsu. I, as your former sensei, even failed to do that. I even told Jiraiya-sama that it was not a good idea to teach you the Rasengan after I had seen you use it. He chuckled dryly, but that was after I had taught Sasuke my own signature jutsu. I saw it wrong for you to be taught something that would help you survive, as at the time the Akatsuki were still hunting you with Sasuke. I knew that he would use the jutsu to kill. Well, that is what I created the jutsu for anyway. Naruto listened to Kakashi's words silently, making no interruptions. While the Jounin spoke between you and Sasuke, you were the one who deserved to be taught the jutsu. Nevertheless, I failed to see that too, so he was not blaming the council for ordering him to teach Sasuke something useful. That was good, Naruto thought. When I saw you return from your training I was happy to see that you had grown, not Just physically but mentally as well. You reminded me much of sensei. Even so, I asked myself, did you still need me as your sensei? Would you even accept me as your sensei? Was I even worthy to be your sensei? The Jounin paused for a moment. The answer I got was no to everything. Question: whoever trained you well. I might not yet have seen what you can do, but I do know that you are strong. You seemed confident. When taking on Jiraiya, someone like you who is not arrogant can only be confident. Because you know you could handle Jiraiya. All I could say when I looked at you was that you had been trained well. Despite not seeing the extent of your abilities, I have watched you spar with Guy and Lee. From that I knew that you have been trained better that I could have. Again Kakashi paused before continuing. But I think I like it that way. I would not have trained you better. Do you think I hate you, Kakashi? Do you think I resent you because I simply watched you drawn in your own pity? He shook his head as he spoke. No, I do not hate you. However, I am human. I have feelings. Despite how we view the world, our mentality, or the fact that we are trained killers, we are still humans. We will feel certain things. I, who was known as the kindest person, was and is capable of feeling hatred. Why? Because I live. I am human. The difference is what I do when I feel hatred and anger. Do I let that control me? Do I allow that to cloud my judgment? He looked up at the heavens again. Any moment now, he thought, and waited. Just then a few drops came down and danced on him, and so it begins. He did not care if it was raining on him. The other difference is that I am here talking to you. I am listening to what you have to say. You have also been patient even when I seemed no to care about what you wanted to say to me. If I had simply allowed my emotions towards you to rule everything, I would not have bothered to be here, but because I do not allow my emotions to rule over my rational thinking, I am here. Seeing that Naruto was done, Kakashi spoke. You might not hate me as you say, but how do I forgive myself for being a failure? How do I try to change the disappointment that I am? Naruto shook his head. I am not here to help you solve problems you have been having before I could even speak. Nevertheless, what I can tell you is that if you continue walking on that path, your life will be on an impasse. There will be no moving forward. You will never be happy. You will remain miserable until you die. Acceptance is the only way forward. He paused for a moment, holding out his hands for the rain to dance on his palms. You are like a man holding out his hands, allowing acid to fall onto his hands. Little by little the acid will consume his hands. Little by little your inability to forgive yourself will eat you away, until he flicked his hand, allowing the water to fall off his hand. You allow yourself to be killed in battle because you see no way forward. Kakashi quietly listened to Naruto. Even after the blonde had stopped talking, he remained quiet for a moment. He did not mind that rain was falling on him. There were more important matters than that. Before I came to here, I had thought about this conversation. You were supposed to have been like my adoptive brother. When that failed, you were to be my student. Even that failed. What I can only ask is to be your friend, nothing else. That sounds acceptable, Naruto replied, not giving it a second thought. He never waited to see Kakashi's reaction to his words. He simply disappeared in a yellow flash. Kakashi smiled slightly and looked at the names he usually came to stare at. Rinobito-sensei, you must have always wanted to punch me each time you saw me come here to tell you of my failures. His smile turned to that of a sad one. I am sorry, he said, and disappeared from the face of the memorial stone. Naruto's house dealing with Kakashi was done and dusted. Now he could look forward to other things. There was much on his plate that he had to deal with, but the situation with Kakashi needed to be dealt with before anything else. He never liked leaving things being uncertain. He had already dealt with his issues with Tsunade, and Jiraiya, his former sensei, was the only one left to deal with. He was quite disappointed in Kakashi, though he had first thought that the man was strong mentally, but he had been wrong. Kakashi had a lot of problems, but he hid them too well. The man had gone through some hardships during his life. Most of it all was emotional pain. He lost his mother when he was little, and his father committed seppuku. His father's death put a lot of strain on him and changed much about his views and attitude. He had read it all on some of his father's journals. His parents were not the only thing Kakashi lost. He had also lost his friend Uchiha Obito, the person who gave him his Sharingan. During the Third Shinobi World War, Obito had made Kakashi promise that he would protect Rin, their teammate. Kakashi failed to do that. Then came his beloved sensei. Still, that did not excuse him. Everybody had their problems, and some during their lifetimes they learned to solve them. Kakashi has been living for how long, yet he is still unable to move on with his life. He constantly reminds himself of how much of a failure he is, then trying to move on with his life. It was good that he handled it, though. Naruto downed a cup of tap water before walking away from the kitchen. He needed to take a shower. Training with Guy and Lee brought much sweat to his body. Without a bath he would surely stink. It was odd that Guy and Lee never seemed to stink that much despite their ridiculous training methods. You know, I was beginning to think you were enjoying seeing him suffer. A voice of Jiraiya spoke, coming from behind Naruto. You thought I was a sadist? Naruto questioned without even looking back at the Sannin. He had already sensed him. No, I was just wondering why you simply watched him suffer from afar. What would you have me do? Jiraiya tried to comfort him. Tell him he was not a failure. You could have done something sooner. You have that power in you to get people to listen to you. Jiraiya replied calmly. I also messed up big time, but you did not give me a hard time about it. I have not forgotten about that. Godfather Naruto reminded Jiraiya that he had yet to forget about his own mistakes. He stopped walking and leaned against a wall into the passage. Now he was facing Jiraiya. Would you have been satisfied if I had tied you up and beat you up to an inch of your life? Would you have been happy if I had removed the thing you hold so dearly just to show you how angry I was and still am with you? Jiraiya cursed his big mouth. He should have not brought the subject up again. They had already spoken about this, and he had to bring it up. No, he admitted quietly, but I would have understood because I deserved it. Indeed you did and still do, Naruto said. Perhaps I should do just that. Give you what you deserve. Jiraiya was quick to reply. No, there is no need for that. We have already discussed things like adults. There is no need for violence. There is no need to worry about that. Jiraiya did not believe that for a second. While I was watching Kakashi, I was studying him, trying to find a way to handle him. I was also interested to see if he would give up if I kept pushing him away. My problems with Kakashi are solved, and to correct you, I never even gave the guy a hard time. We talked and I gave him an advice. Unlike you, Kakashi was just a student of my father. You, on the other hand, were my father's sensei and my godfather. Do you think a mere sorry and acknowledgement of your wrongs will make up for what you did? Jiraiya said nothing. What could he say? You said I did not make things hard for you. That is not it. The thing is, I just have yet to make things hard for you. I told you that I was angry with you, but did not hate you. Do you think all the anger I felt when I found out that you abandoned me to the vultures of this village just disappeared? Do you think that I will easily forget that you let me think that my parents had abandoned me while you knew that was not an anger like that does not simply disappear after a one-night sleep? Jiraiya, perhaps in the movies it might, but this is reality. I told you I would punish you, and I still intend on doing that, Naruto stated, making Jiraiya pale at the thought of being punished. Now state what you wish and excuse yourself. I want to take a shower. Jiraiya nodded quietly. I wanted to say that what you did for Kakashi was good even though you took your time. He said, Haim has told me that you wanted to go on a mission. That is true, Naruto confirmed. If you like, we could go together when I visit my contacts in Kiri and Kumo. The Sannin offered. This would give him an opportunity to get closer to Naruto. Naruto caught on to that. However, there were far more serious matters than that. This could give him a chance to see other villages before making his move. When do we leave? Jiraiya grinned. The second Naruto asked. I will just have to check things with Haim. I will talk to you tonight. Okay, Naruto said, turning to face the passage. You know you way out, he said, disappearing from Jiraiya's view. Jiraiya sighed, walked out of the house. He went to the garden first. It was quite lovely when Minato was still alive. He had some good memories in the house. He would have had a lot of them too with Naruto had he not messed up things. Not all was lost though. There was still time to make up for his wrongs. He doubted he could ever do enough, but the little he could do he would do. Later that day, Naruto was walking alone towards his house from the ramen bar. It was so much better to take a walk sometimes than to simply teleport. He was thankful that Tsunade had decided against telling everyone about his heritage. Not that he was hiding it anyway. With things the way they were, he could walk happily and peacefully around the village. A few number of villagers still ignored him, while some just went about their lives. He had no complaints, though he could not wish for any of it to be any different. He sighed, looking at his right. At the corner of his eyes, Hinata, he thought, catching the weird Hyuga girl tailing him. She never seemed to be able to hide whenever she was spying on him. It had been going for a few days. Now he thought eventually she would decide to leave the shadows and step out into the light, but he thought wrong. It did not seem like she would be doing that anytime soon. He had thought that it was annoying at first, given that she was always tailing him whenever she got the chance. Sometimes she would be at it for hours. It was annoying having a pair of white eyes staring at him. He could never do anything private because her eyes were always staring at him. Anyone would find it disturbing knowing that you always had a pair of eyes staring and watching carefully whatever you did. Now it was becoming creepy. He did not think that any girl in love did what Hinata was doing. If all girls did it, then he would surely die as he was. Perhaps Hinata was obsessed with him. An obsession sounded accurate. You had to be obsessed to spend your time spying on someone without an instruction for hours. She did it simply because she wanted to. He wondered though, did she not have her own life to live? He had talked with Niji about it, but the Hyuga prodigy did not seem bothered about it or even care for it. He did admit it that he would find it disturbing if she was spending much of her time spying on him. Nevertheless, he was not willing to help him out. He simply told him to deal it himself. He could, but he often did not censor his words to accommodate someone as fragile as Hinata. He would not want to be responsible for her mental breakdown. Glancing at her direction once more, he was about to call her when he sensed someone rather a dark figured appeared before him. Uchiha Sasuke. The only reaction Naruto gave physically to the presence was a raised brow. He simply looked at the matured form of Sasuke Sharingan. They were devoid of any emotion and looked to be studying and analyzing him like he was some kind of puzzle. Narrowing his eyes at a building on his left, Naruto saw Kakashi the Jounin seemed ready to jump and should fireworks threaten to be ignited. Naruto. There was neither anger nor hatred in his voice. There was nothing. His voice was devoid of any emotion, just as his eyes were. Yes, Naruto said calmly. He looked at the Uchiha calmly. He had told himself that Sasuke was dead to him countless times, and he believed it. However, he was staring at those same eyes that stared at him when they tried to kill him. This person betrayed him. He could not think otherwise. Was it just easy to say that he did not exist when he was not in presence? He realized something though. He hated Uchiha Sasuke. There was no difference in Sasuke that tried to kill him and the Sasuke that was standing in front of him. I just wanted to confirm something, Sasuke said before disappearing. Naruto sighed. Yes, Sasuke was Sasuke, and he did not like him at all. He waited for Kakashi to appear. I don't know why I was even worried, Kakashi said. Naruto looked at him. He looked a lot better than he was at afternoon. Both of you have changed so much. I know that I have gone on a few missions with Sasuke. I should have known better. Naruto did not comment. Let's go to the Jounin Lounge. You have never been there. Last time I asked you said you had other plans. Sure, Naruto said he had nothing serious to do anyway. He could as well see what the Jounin usually converse. Time skip. Shimura Danza narrowed his eyes at the presence before him. Orochimaru of the Snake Sannin. The snake was watching him as it made its way towards him, possibly plotting something devious. He could never figure what went on in the head of the snake. He might be in a comfortable position, but the snake is dangerous. He knew that. Why? The long-faced Danzo? Orochimaru asked with a wide grin. You still have not brought me my perfect weapon. Danzo stated he had contacted Orochimaru so that the Snake Sannin could make him a weapon. Since he had failed to get his hands on the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, he needed a weapon, a strong one. Sasuke was uncontrollable. He could not depend on him to achieve certain things. Yes, Orochimaru said, keeping his grin. I am beginning to think you are incapable of making me the perfect weapon, Danza stated, keeping his calm nature. Kuku. Orochimaru laughed, finding it amusing. You forget that I always deliver, Danzu. I created your right hand. Yes, you were able to achieve that, but this task seems to be beyond you. It has been 2 years now since I contacted you. You must understand that creating this perfect weapon is a delicate matter that cannot be rushed. I also have to make sure every possibilities and impossibilities are calculated perfectly, Orochimaru stated. Standing in front of Danza, the matter is much more complex and requires me to do things that your simpleton mind cannot understand. Insults. That is what Orochimaru reverted to when someone said something about his capabilities, more especially about his genius. How many times have I told you to watch what you say, Orochimaru? Kuku again. Orochimaru chuckled. It always amused him when Danza said things like that. There's nothing you can do even if I continue to show you disrespect. The Snake Sannin stated, a fact. I will assure you that there is something that I can do to you. Kuku. This time Orochimaru laughed really hard in a very sick way. You forget, Danzu. I know everything about you. I know things that can get you executed by Konoha since you have committed treason many times. Enough of this, Danza said firmly, not wanting to continue with the conversation any longer. When will I get my weapon? Very soon, Danza, the Snake Sannin said with a grin. I have collected all the materials I need for the project. Since the last months I have been collecting necessary data by conducting a series of tests, and so far the data I have collected is satisfactory. You have not given me an exact date of when I will get it, Orochimaru Danza stated, tapping his fingers on his throne impatiently. Orochimaru felt sort of disappointed that Danzo had not asked anything about the developments of the project. He sighed. Brutes could never understand the delicate scientific principles he had not follow with the project. It was not like magic where you would say the magic words and the weapon would be formed. Everything had to be calculated, measured and weighed at the right value. All formulas had to be rethought and composed again to see if there were mistakes. Mistakes in a project like this one were not something he wanted. It would prove to be dangerous for anyone should a mistake and miscalculation be made. Everything had to be in the exact order and angled correctly. Soon, he finally said. When is soon? You have been saying soon for months now. Danzu was really becoming impatient. He needed his weapon ready for use at any moment now. He needed it a year ago, but with the weapon not yet ready he had postponed his plans. He could not wait any longer than he already had. Soon, just be patient and I will give you your toy, Orochimaru stated annoyingly. He hated being hurried to do his work. He liked taking his time when experimenting on things. It was fun that way. Now he was calling it a Toy Orochimaru, I will give you a month to finish creating the weapon. If you have not yet completed the project, then I will concede that even the once-in-a-generation genius is incapable of making some things. How clever Danzo, Orochimaru thought with a smirk. Danzo was just saying it so to entice him to work even more hard to prove his genius. Well, he was not going to fall for it. He had dealt with Danzo long enough to know how the old Warhawk worked. Fine, Orochimaru said, but when it does not end well, don't come running back to me because you are rushing me. Just get it done. And our deal, Orochimaru asked. He was thrilled with that. He was going to get out of this little deal with Danzo. The price was worth all his efforts. I will keep my end of the deal if you keep your end, Danzo stated calmly. He had what Orochimaru wanted. He knew the snake would do anything to get the project done. Make sure that the weapon knows where its loyalties lie, Danzo said with narrowed eyes. He had been saying this each time Orochimaru came to see him. He wanted the snake to remember that the weapon he was creating was for him and him only. Actually, that is the reason I came here, Orochimaru stated. What do you need? Your blood, Orochimaru said, licking his lips. Lots of it. And your chakra, why is it not obvious? Orochimaru questioned with a smirk. Danzo nodded. Fine, you will have what you need. Orochimaru threw Danzo an empty bottle for blood and a chakra storage seal. Danzo cut himself and allowed his blood to flow into the bottle. After that, he channeled his chakra into the storage seals. He handed everything back to Orochimaru. Orochimaru turned around to leave. He took a few steps before stopping. Danzo, next time you send one of your pests to follow me, I will not simply mislead them, I will kill them. Then he was gone. Danzo was going to order one of his root to tail the snake to find out where he was conducting the experiment. The snake knew how to hide. He had never been able to get old off then snake when it did not want to be found by him. Naruto's house. Naruto sighed as he sealed a few things he would need for his journey with Jiraiya. He regretted going with Kakashi to the Jounin lounge yesterday. He did not think that adults would behave so childishly. And then came Anko. He shook his head. The woman was crazy. As they came, he had to restrict her with a seal to avoid her jumping on him. She wanted payback for running away from her, and then when she had gotten drunk she was drooling all over him. Literally, the sight was unpleasant. Never was he going back to the lounge again. The Jounin drank sake too much, especially when they were happy or celebrating something. Still, their celebrations were wild. It was mostly the men who were out of control. The women, except for Anko, were acting their age. At least some of them offered him some pleasant conversations. Unlike most of the men, he had looked at Asuma with a blank expression when the Jounin had asked him if he was still a virgin. Then everyone stared at him, waiting for him to answer. He did not answer the question, though. Just so you know, regardless of what you answer, I am willing to ride you tonight, Anko had said, causing him to stare at her for a moment. He had expected the Jounins to act a bit more mature. Well, they were mature. It was just that when alcohol entered their system, they lost all maturity. Alcohol was not a good thing if you could not take it. He was surprised, though. Kakashi was just his usual bored self. So was Guy. The two only took a few sips of sake, and then it was that they settled for having civil conversations without much fuss. Well, that was for a few minutes before Guy started to argue with Kakashi over their score in their battles. Guy believed that he had won more matches than his eternal rival, whereas Kakashi refuted the claim, saying he won more matches. He even reminded Guy of their last match, which the Green Beast did not remember. Jiraiya had said he would come to fetch him when they were to leave. They would be leaving today. The Sannin said he would have to do a couple of things before they left. Their journey would take up some time away from the village. That meant that they would be away from the village for a few weeks. He did not mind being away from Konoha, though he had been away from the village for 3 years, and he liked being away. It was refreshing being away. He never got many chances to leave the village during his genin days, so any chance to go outside the village was highly appreciated and welcomed. He would not miss the chance for the world. It was not that he hated being inside Konoha. He liked being inside the village. Konoha was his home, and nothing could change that. It would always be his home. He had been born for this village. Perhaps his mother may have been an outsider, but he was still born here during a historic day, the day the Kyuubi attacked. Speaking of which, he had not spoken to the beast in quite some time. The time was now stretching towards a year. Mindscape. He walked into the cold sewer with his calm expression kept. He would certainly lose his mind if he had been the one locked up in a place like this. Surely Kyuubi got bored sometimes with being always locked up in a cage without anyone to talk to. He did not think that any human would survive with the kind of living conditions set after being locked into the cage. It was no wonder that during the times he had come here, he had always found the Bijou sleeping or sometimes pretending to be. It would have been better if it could take one of those years-long slumbers. If it could, it would repel the boredom the beast had to face. He pitied the great Bijou for that, but never said it loud, as it would only serve to infuriate it. He remembered the time he had thanked the Kyuubi for saving his life. When he was still playing stupid, the Bijou had reacted in a way he had not been expecting and went on to remind him it only did it because if he died it would be the end of it too, temporarily, as in a few more years the Bijou would reform. He stopped walking after reaching the front of the cage that kept his prisoner. He did not say anything at first. He waited for the QB to acknowledge his presence. If it did not, he would turn around and leave. He had done that before, but he knew that the beast always knew when he was there. It just refused to acknowledge his presence. Slowly but surely the huge blood-red eyes of the QB opened lazily as they did. "Hello QB," Naruto began in a casual tone as if he was speaking to his friend. "What do you want?" Nothing more of what he had expected. It was always like this with the Bijou, to the point. "First I came to talk to you," Naruto stated. The fact that the Bijou had acknowledged his presence meant that it felt like talking to him. "Get it out and leave. You and I are going to be stuck together for a long time. Tell me something." "I don't know," QB said sarcastically. "I know you don't like me, being that I am the one containing you, but you and I know that I had no say in that. Nevertheless, you don't like me, and I believe you don't like anyone for that matter." He paused and looked at the Bijou intensively. "As I said, you and I are going to be stuck together for a long time. We could work on our differences and get along quite nicely." "You are repeating the same words you said 2 years ago," the QB said with a snort. Sometimes it really did not understand its container. That was because he tried to be friendly. QB did not understand that humans were all the same. They saw Bijous as weapons, tools to be used for their means. He could not understand why Naruto would want to be friends or try to just get along with it. It hated humans, and it was not going to get along with one that is, unless that means I am consistent. Naruto said. "You could give it a chance. I mean, what do you have to lose? No matter what happens, you are always going to remain sealed in me. That will only change if I die." Again the Bijou snorted and closed its eyes, but it did not say a word. "Think about it," Naruto said, and walked away from the cage. The QB never looked at him as he left. It kept its eyes shut. About an hour later, Jiraiya showed up at Naruto's house looking a bit out of breath. Naruto figured the Sannin had been running away from something. When someone like Jiraiya was running away from something, you knew that it had to be women he was peeping on. He must have been caught peeping. It was a wonder to Naruto how the Sannin never seemed to be able to completely hide himself while peeping. He was able to hide for a few minutes, but sooner he would be caught. Perhaps it was the perverted giggles that always gave away his position. He was stealthy enough to hide from a few civilians. When he was caught, it was punishment time. He never seemed to escape that one. Never would Naruto pity the man, even if women do beat him up to an inch of his life. Perhaps people like Kakashi and other fans of Jiraiya's perverted books would be able to pity him. He was the source of their favorite books. Without him there could be no books. That would surely be the end of some men. Kakashi would probably go into a mental breakdown and quit his shinobi career if Jiraiya was no longer there to provide him with new issues of Ika Ika Paradise. "I thought you were doing something important," Naruto stated, looking at the pervert. He had said he had something of importance to do before they left. He had not thought it would be peeping. "I had something important to do," Jiraiya said in a slightly serious tone. After catching his breath, he had been nearly caught. Had he been caught, he would have been at the hospital today. He had peeped on some beautiful and feisty women. They were really mad when they found him. He was lucky enough to have outrun them. He did wonder why they had to be so mad about it. It was not like he had taken anything, and he had also seen what he wanted to see. Hitting him was not going to make him forget or stop doing what he loved doing. In fact, when they beat him up, it made him recall everything he had seen in an even clear detail that he would, without being beaten. Tsunade had nearly killed him, and yet he still remembers how her naked body looked like. "You need to set your priorities straight, Jiraiya. Since when did peeping become something of importance? It's not peeping, it is called research. Why do people always get it wrong? Why could they not just understand that he was collecting research data instead of peeping?" "Konoha has the best hot springs. I had to get some inspiration before we left the village," he said, getting his tone down. "I do not appreciate being kept waiting, especially when you were wasting time doing immoral things." Jiraiya ignored Naruto's words. "Have you packed everything?" "I just said I had been waiting for you. Did not I?" Why would he wait for the Sannin if he had not packed up everything? That would be stupid. Jiraiya sighed. "You could have just said yes or no," he stated, slightly annoyed by Naruto's way of responding. Saying yes or no was a lot easier than saying all things he did not want to hear. "If I wanted to," Naruto said, placing a scroll right beside his sword sheath. He hooked the scroll with the sheath before placing it on its rightful place. "His back now, shall we? We have to see him first," Jiraiya stated, causing Naruto to sigh. He followed Jiraiya to Tsunade's office. Hokage office. Tsunade stared at Naruto unblinking. He had just returned, and now he was leaving her again. She was beginning to think that he longer liked being inside the village. She had not thought that he would take Jiraiya's offer without even thinking about it more than he did. Jiraiya had told her that he had accepted Without thinking about it for more than 2 seconds, it took him that little time to make a choice that would see him depart from the village. Why could not he understand that she needed him by her side? It took him little time to make a choice to get away from her that left a bad taste in her. Looking at his eyes, she could not get anything out of them. They were their usual blank. Even sometimes when he smiled, his eyes betrayed that smile, because they would never reflect happiness. They reflected nothing. She wanted to see him smile a bit more and laugh as he used to, but now she was realizing that it was just wishful thinking. At least he did smile at her every now and then. She had realized that he had become increasingly bored being cooped inside the village without anything to do. Perhaps this journey with Jiraiya would offer him a chance to get rid of the boredom, so that when he does return he would be at least without the bored look he had been carrying over the past few days. Tsunade blinked and released a sigh. I just wanted to see you before you left, she said to the other blonde. Naruto raised a brow. He had been here yesterday with Jiraiya. After the pervert had informed her that he would be leaving with him, she already knew he was going, not just from Jiraiya's mouth, but from his mouth as well. He thought that they had handled everything. You really need to take parenting lessons, Hokage-sama, Naruto stated, earning a nod from Jiraiya. The Sannin agreed with Naruto. What, you are showing too much love, and you are way overprotective. It is over the bar. I can see just by looking at your eyes you would rather I did not leave with Jiraiya, Naruto stated calmly. You have to understand that I am not a child who needs to be under your constant watch. I have told you that I can handle myself. I will be involved in dangerous things, some life-threatening. You have to allow me to fight my own battles. You have fought yours and survived. I will fight mine and will survive, but that cannot happen when you are always standing in front of me trying to shield me from any danger. Again Jiraiya nodded. I have to agree with him. Naruto is no longer as he was 3 years ago. You have to allow him to grow and let him be a man. He cannot go anyway if you won't allow him to grow. He is no longer a child. He has grown wings. You have to let him fly, otherwise he will remain rooted to the ground. Tsunade sighed. She was just being concerned like any other person would. Could they not understand that? And besides, he has me to look after him, Jiraiya added with a grin. Yes, and it went well last time. I trusted you with his care, Tsunade said sarcastically. You are not going to let that go, or you know. Tsunade gave a short and firm reply. He had trusted her with Naruto's care, and he failed to do so after going on to his peep show. Naruto sighed silently. Sure, he had some unresolved matters with his godfather, but Tsunade had to let that go. There was nothing Jiraiya could have done against his escape. Jiraiya was certainly not going to forgive himself if Tsunade kept reminding him of it. It would leave a bad taste in his mouth if he simply watched without care while the Sannin suffered. He was not that cold and heartless. People did make mistakes. He understood that. That is why he even speaks to Jiraiya, but that did not mean that there were no consequences for the mistakes. They were there and had to be fully paid for. As many mistakes Jiraiya has made, Naruto said, causing the Sannin to wince. Remembering all the mistakes he made, I do not find my escape to be one of them, or something he should be blamed for. I could have run away from him regardless of what he did. Either my chakra was sealed or I was trapped in a barrier. One way or the other, I would have found a way to get away from him. Tsunade looked at Naruto for a moment before nodding silently. He was still not apologizing for running away. What he had said just showed her just how intent he was on getting away from her former teammate. It was clear that even if she had been there to forbid him from doing anything stupid, he would have still ran away. Perhaps I have been a little overprotective, but that is just because I am always worried about you. I would never forgive myself if something bad happened to you, Tsunade said quietly. Don't you think it's becoming more of paranoia? Naruto questioned the blonde. Dame Hokage, each time I leave, something bad is going to happen. Do you think that is healthy? Just be grateful that someone is worried about you, Tsunade exclaimed, staring straight at Naruto. Well, anyway, have a safe journey and don't ever return like Jiraiya. What makes you think I will ever be like him? He is not the ideal role model, and anyone who would want to follow on his footsteps would surely be lost. You know that I am right here and can hear you perfectly well, right? Jiraiya said, not sounding the least wounded by Naruto's words. Naruto merely shrugged while Tsunade ignored him. Point taken, the blonde Hokage said with a small smile that was cold. Jiraiya said after Tsunade had ignored him like he had not said a thing. Sighing, Jiraiya continued, let's go, Naruto, he said, turning his eyes towards Naruto. Naruto nodded and smiled once for Tsunade before disappearing into thin air. I really hate it when he does that, Tsunade mumbled after Naruto had disappeared into nothingness with his unique sunshine. You are not the only one, Jiraiya said before he too disappeared. His disappearance was accompanied by a cloud of smoke, though just outside of Konoha. Thanks for saving me back there, Jiraiya said to Naruto as they walked in a comfortable pace. He was referring to when Naruto told Tsunade that she should not blame him for his running away. I was merely doing what was right, Naruto stated, not even sparing Jiraiya a look. Jiraiya sensed there was a hidden meaning to the words, but did not press to find out what it was. It was better that way. Some things were better left uncovered. Sometimes it was better to let things be and stop reasoning, because there were times we would uncover things we rather not have uncovered. Where are we going to visit first? We will first go to Kumo, then Kiri. Jiraiya replied. Naruto nodded. Before they even reached Kumo, he would have to disappear so that he could speak to Itachi. He needed to inform the Uchiha of when he would try to visit Konan and Amigakure. Jiraiya was not going to be always at his side. The pervert would occasionally leave him on his own while he did other things. Given that opportunity, he would teleport to the hideout. Luckily Itachi would be there. He had informed him that he would teleport to the place. He walked silently beside the Toad Sennin. This journey would surely give him a chance to see the world more. He would not mind to eliminate some bandits' camps. While on the way, there were many of them scattered across the elemental nations. More of the bandits' camps meant more women were suffering. Perhaps some action would get his name on the map. Certainly having his name known in most lands would make it easy for him to reach foreign lands. With more reach over other lands, he could find the space to operate, have some sort of influence over the world. Naruto and Jiraiya, they had been traveling for 4 days now. Well, not exactly that, they had only traveled for 2 days, and when they reached a town, Jiraiya decided it was best they rested for some time. He had said that they were not going to stop at another town. After this one, they would simply head straight to the Lightning Country without any stops. They would only stop for rest. Naruto was not complaining, though he did not mind their pace. He was in no hurry to return to Konoha. Returning to the village, he would only be welcomed by boredom. At least out here he could take a walk and see people he did not see every day of his life. It was refreshing seeing new things than things that were already imprinted within his mind. The image of Konoha and its street was plastered across his mind. He could fairly walk around the village with his eyes closed and never fear about hitting something. He had run around the village countless times during his younger days when he was playing pranks on the villagers. He knew all the hiding spots. He had blueprint of the village in his head. At least he got something from his stupid days. Jiraiya was going to be leaving any minute now. He could see by the look on the man's face he was increasingly becoming bored and had a look on his face that went towards a brothel. That's how Jiraiya got laid. He had to pay for sex. It was pitiful yet amusing for him. He had no doubt that if he was the type or felt like getting laid, he would never need to pay. He would simply talk his way into it without visiting a brothel or paying any women for. Jiraiya, despite his fame, women did not throw themselves at him. They never showed any interest in him. Perhaps a few did, but there were only a few of them. What kind of intel are you going to get from your contacts? Naruto asked. Jiraiya was now spotting a dreamy look, but it disappeared as soon as he asked the question. You will know when you meet with them, Jiraiya replied with a shrug of his shoulders. How about we go and have some fun? You are getting at that age, and I think it would be normal if you showed some interest in women. Why, you are missing something great, Jiraiya responded. Naruto was missing the pleasures a woman could give a man. He knew all about it, but it would also be great if his godson knew about it too. It would also give him research material and something to write about. I think not, Naruto responded with a wave of his hands. Come on, just come with me for today. Only if you don't agree with me, I will never make a request like this again, Jiraiya said, standing up. I will also think that there is something wrong with you if you don't find it enjoyable. He thought. I'd rather not, Naruto said, turning the Sannin down. I will take a walk outside the town. You can do what you wish, but tomorrow we leave. Fine, the Toad Sage said. But you are missing. He let the words hang. Naruto did not comment any further. He walked out of the room. He always carried his sword when he walked. Perhaps if it was Konoha he would leave it behind, but this was a foreign town to him. He was just passing by. He could not trust it with his blade. Outside the town, Naruto stopped walking suddenly and turned around as he sensed something. He saw nothing when he turned around, but there was no mistake. He had definitely sensed something. He kept his guard up and looked back to where he had been headed. He could not show signs of distress at this time. He just had to stay calm, and perhaps whoever that he had sensed would reveal himself. He was not paranoid enough to be making things inside his head. He held no illusions that someone was always trying to get him. His senses were always right, unless they were tricked, which had not happened so far. He suddenly came into a halt when again he sensed something behind him. This time his senses were on high alert. He turned around slowly and narrowed his eye. In front of him was a man with short spiky black hair and a fair skin. He was just about an inch taller than him. He wore a black coat that stretched out wide at its end. Under the coat he wore a long-sleeve blood red t-shirt and also wore black cargo pants. This was accompanied by black shinobi boots and blood red fingerless gloves. The feature that stood out the most was in his eye sockets. There was just a black void. Naruto was not sensing anything good from the man. Can I help you? He asked stoically. He got no response from the man. He simply moved towards him in a burst of speed that surprised him. The take of the man caused small chunks of earth to peel off. Naruto got into defense. Seeing an attacking coming, he brought out both his hands and crossed them in front of him to make a defense. He blocked a powerful punch that was directed to his face. The Force behind the punch caused him to be rooted to the ground. His feet burrowed on the ground. He winced at the contact. There was some power behind the punch. It made attempting to block another punch next time not so much of a good idea. Naruto leapt backwards to create some distance between himself and the stranger. "Who are you?" he asked calmly. Still the stranger did not seem to be capable of producing words. The stranger took off towards him again. Naruto took off at the same time. If the man wanted to fight, he would give him a fight. Besides, it was not like he had any other options. The man seemed to want nothing but to fight. For what purpose he did not know. He did not have any enemies that could want him to die. The man lunged a right hook towards him. It came fast and swift. Naruto brought out his hand to block the attack. This time he was a lot more prepared than last time. He man threw another punch towards his face. He used his other to block. Before pushing the man away from him, he was trying to make him lose balance, but that was unfruitful. Naruto tried a high roundhouse kick at his opponent. He put as much power as he could before the attack. The kick was gracefully caught by the stranger. Naruto made an attempt to forcibly retrieve his foot, but his hold was too tight for him. Seeing that his other foot was caught, Naruto moved his other to attempt to kick the man. The motion caused him to fall on his back, since both his legs used for balance were out of position to balance. His attempt for kick was caught again by the stranger's strong grasp. Before he could hit the ground, the man swung him into the air. He spun several times before throwing him away. The throw was powerful, but Naruto had been under the kind of situations before. He tried his best to regain his balance before flipping several times. While still flying towards the tree, he landed on the ground but was still pushed back by the momentum. He did not wait or have to look for his attacker as the man silently appeared before him. The man sent a spinning kick towards his temple. He quickly brought out his for a hasty but effective defense. The kick connected with his defense and sent him flying. Due to its power, he was sent sailing towards the trees. Naruto allowed the momentum to carry him. He was going to hit the tree with his head first, but when he was about to crash into the tree, he swiftly flipped and hit the tree with his feet. He did not stop. He sort of like bounced off the tree and sped towards his opponent. The speed he was traveling in was fast, but his opponent waited for him. As he reached near, he raised his right foot and sent it crashing towards the man's head. The man brought out both his hands in defense. When the back on his foot connected with the defense it held on, the power behind it forced the man's feet to burrow into the ground. Naruto flipped and returned with a kick to the man's chest. His opponent jumped back to avoid being hit. He landed on the ground and stood there for a second before disappearing off to attack the black-eyed stranger. He charged a Rasengan on his right hand. As soon as he reached his opponent, the man blurred out of sight and went behind him. His Rasengan hit the ground with a loud boom and created a crater on the ground. He was forced to be on alert as the stranger was on him again. He sensed him coming, but did not react fast enough to do anything against the kick on his back that sent him flying. He crashed into a tree, breaking it. Before recovering, he hit the ground and stared at his opponent. The man was fast and really good. He might end up forgetting that the man just attacked him out of nowhere and start enjoying the battle. So far it was good, and he had been pretty much put on the defensive. He was not going to try to talk to the man by now. He had already realized that he was not going to get any answers. He did not seem to be capable of speaking, or he just preferred to be quiet. He did not mind though. He liked things just the way they were. Without another thought, Naruto dashed in great speeds towards his attacker. The man did the same and met in between. They grabbed both each other's and clashed in a battle of physical prowess. He was no pushover in this department, but in this case he was evenly matched with his opponent. He began to push chakra behind his push. His opponent seemed to do the same. Their battle forced both of them to burrow into the ground. The release of chakra forced debris around them to pick up. Naruto got a closer look at those black eyes. There was nothing in them. They were just a black void with eternal darkness. There was no life in them. He could not see anything from them. They merely stared at him. Naruto head-butted his opponent. Seeing that the struggle for power was not going to end soon, his move seemed to have surprised the man. It was as if he was not expecting him to do it. The hands broke apart and Naruto used the momentarily loss of balance bias to his advantage. He flashed through hand seals faster than the normal eyes could see. Futon Kaze no Panchi, he muttered, and released compressed wind in the shape on a punch. The wind punch hit his opponent head on in the gut and sent him flying. The man was quick to recover from the attack. He landed gracefully on the ground, but Naruto was before him in a flash. He had moved faster than he had been. He jumped into the air and attempted to deliver a powerful midair kick. The kick did just end as an attempt. It hit the man straight and hard in his face. The powerful kick sent him away from Naruto. The blonde landed on the ground and waited for his opponent to recover. The movements of the stranger were calculated and not wasted. The attacks also had a lot of power behind them. He was curious as to who the man was. He had managed to surprise him with his speed. He wondered though how long he would keep it up without having to use some of his special moves. The stranger recovered quickly and walked towards Naruto. He stood and stared at the blonde as if inviting him to attack. Naruto did not think it over. He went straight towards the man. He used his great speed again. He appeared in front of the man and jumped into the air. His jump was fast and caused cracks on the ground. He swung his right foot horizontally towards his opponent. The man reacted quickly by bending to avoid the blow. Naruto spun around with the momentum of the kick. He was forced to go on the defensive when the man he was fighting against attempted to kick him. While he was still spinning around, he channeled chakra into his feet before the man's kick hit him. When it did hit, he felt nothing. He blurred away from him. The stranger was at him again. He lunged himself at him and attempted to punch him. Naruto ducked under the punch and attempted to punch him in the gut, but his punch was caught. The man yanked his hand towards him and drove his fist towards his face. Naruto tilted his head to avoid the punch, but his opponent did not stop there. He twisted his hand painfully and pulled backwards before letting go of his hand. Before Naruto could do anything, he was kicked painfully on his face. The kick sent him flying away. He was quick to recover. Nonetheless, he recovered in the form of going through hand seals futon de Tapa. He released powerful gusts of winds that sped towards the black eyes stranger. The gusts picked up debris as they rushed towards the target. He was not expecting the jutsu, hence he was sent flying by it. The jutsu sent him away, but he recovered quickly and landed on the ground with both his feet. Naruto also did the same. He summoned a kunai and shuriken pouch. Before placing it on its rightful place, he took out 4 kunais and held them with both his hands, 2 in each. He disappeared into the trees. The stranger stood calmly staring at the spot Naruto had been standing before he disappeared. He did not look too concerned about the sudden disappearance of Naruto. A kunai came flying towards him in great speed. He disappeared from his position. The kunai burrowed into the ground as it had missed its target. More kunais came flying towards him. He was able to skillfully dodge them all. Naruto had been throwing them from different directions, 1 or 2 at a time, though suddenly he changed tactics and sent a shower of them towards the man. He disappeared from his spot and appeared on top of a tree branch. Naruto appeared before him with a Rasengan on his hand. He drove the Rasengan towards the man's gut, but he dodged it by jumping into the air. The Rasengan hit the tree and destroyed it. Just then, as the man was in midair, another Naruto came fast towards him, not giving him a chance to react. He was holding his blade his left hand. He changed hands and held the blade with his right hand before he swung in across the man's chest. Kaminari Kata. The blade was crackling with lightning as he swung at the Naruto that had charged the Rasengan disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving the one holding the sword of the flying thunder god. The man had already disappeared. After being cut, he jumped into the clearing away from the trees, looked at his blade as it was dripping something dark red. It was blood, but way dark. It almost looked like it was not even blood, but some sort of liquid. He flicked it, ridding of the blood. He was again forced to be on the defensive when the stranger appeared before him. He was holding a black blade that seemed to be made of solid chakra. He could feel that it was definitely chakra. Naruto parried the slash that came across his face. He pushed back before swinging his own blade across the man's chest. The stranger blocked the slash with his own blade. The blades become locked up in a battle of power as they tried to see which was the sharpest and strongest. Naruto stopped pushing and jumped back. Kaminari Kata, he muttered, swinging his sword horizontally. The sword released a lighting blade that sped towards the opponent. The technique was the same as the one he had used earlier. The difference was that this time he had resealed the lightning from his sword. Last time he had not released it. It was almost unavoidable when the shot it towards an opponent. Its speed was great that only the fastest would be able to dodge it, but when he used it while maintaining it on his blade, it could be avoidable. But when used with the sword, it dealt more damage to the opponent. The last time he had used it, his opponent had slightly dodged it, but he had hit him across his chest. There was a wound across the chest where the blade had it. It was just no deep, though the lightning cutter was at his opponent. In mere seconds, the man brought out both his hands and shielded himself against the attack. The attack hit him and seemed to go past him. It hit just below his shoulders. From where the jutsu had cut, his coat fell to the ground. After being cut, his shirt also, there was a slash across his chest caused by the jutsu. The gash was also on his back. It took seconds for the second gash to start leaking blood. Naruto was before the stranger. Before he could recover from his attack, he drove his blade towards the man's chest. The target did enough to move away slightly to avoid being pierced on his chest. The blade ended up piercing his right shoulder. With how deep the blade had entered his flesh, anyone would have first attempted to remove it, but not his man. He seemed to have shrugged off the wound and grabbed Naruto's right hand, which held the blade. He was about to cut Naruto with his own blade when the blonde held a single hand seal futon Shinkadangan. He did so faster. Before he could be hit, he released a vacuum bullet from his mouth. The bullet hit the man on his chest hard. It pushed him back slightly. It was obvious he had used his power to stand his ground. This caused him to let his grip on his hand loose. Naruto did Not waste time, he jumped into the air and spun around, delivering a power kick to the man's temple. The kick sent him flying, but Naruto was not done. While the man was still on flight, he appeared above him and clasped his hands together. Futon Kaze no Hama. He did so, sending a heavy blow to the man. The wind hammer hit him hard and sent him crashing towards the ground. Naruto landed onto the ground and waited for the man to get up. He knew that his efforts were not enough. Soon enough the man was up on his feet. His upper body's clothes were messed up and the deep wound on his shoulder was leaking blood. He was also spotting several bruises. Naruto flashed through hand seals. He was not too concerned about the enemy. He still looked. He wanted to fight Futon Kaze shuriken. Multiple wind shurikens formed beside him. They spun around for a second before he sent them towards the opponent. The opponent held both his hands together before he released some powerful gusts of wind that deflected the shurikens away from him. Tapa, so he can use ninjutsu too. Well, I should have expected that, Naruto thought, looking at his opponent. The black-eyed man rushed towards him with some debris picking up behind. Naruto sensed a rise of chakra from him. The chakra was unlike anything he had ever sensed before. It was foul and sinister, even more sinister than the Kyuubi's. He also felt the Kyuubi shift inside the cage. While the man was dashing towards him, he went through hand seals before releasing fireballs. Naruto knew that it was no ordinary katan jutsu, that is, it was katan. The flames were too hot and intense for any fire-style jutsu. He took out his blade again and held it in front of him. Kaminari no Shuhiki, he said so, channeling chakra into his blade. A lightning barrier erected in front of and stood like a wall. His blade was the source of it. As he conducted the lightning, though, the flames hit his barrier and tried to break it, but Naruto put more chakra behind it to enforce it. He was not about to be burned. After the struggle, the barrier died down along with the flames. Naruto widened his eyes slightly when his opponent greeted him with a punch under his chin. It did not end there. A knee to his gut followed, causing to wince painfully. This was followed by a punch to his face. Naruto had to say the punch was chakra enhanced. He did not believe that anyone could punch that hard. The punch sent him rocketing towards the trees away from the clearing. Naruto hit a couple of trees as the momentum carried before finally stopping. He hit the ground painfully and took some time to stand up. He did so panting. Nothing was broken except for his nose and a few bruises along with his slightly tattered clothes. He was forced to abandon his position when a breath of scorching flames came towards him. He replaced himself with a log before disappearing back to the clearing. The stranger flashed back to the clearing. Futon Shinkuha. Naruto took a deep breath and spun around while compressing into a solitary wind blade. The jutsu blasted off around him, cutting everything on its path. Unfortunately, it was not his opponent. He only got a few tree with the large wind blade. He looked around for his opponent. As he could not sense him, he quickly sensed him when he felt a spike of chakra. He stranger was charging a small ball of black energy on his palm. Naruto could feel that there was a lot of chakra on the technique. The man held out his hand palm facing Naruto. Shit, Naruto cursed. As a beam of black energy shot towards him, it would definitely not end well for him if he got it by whatever the jutsu was. He quickly went through hand seals. Futon Kaze no Shuhiki, he yelled before clasping his hands together. An invincible barrier of wind quickly formed in front of him. Naruto cursed again when the black energy hit his barrier. The technique was a lot stronger than he had thought. Keeping up the barrier was a difficult task because he had not molded enough chakra. Boom, there was an explosion right in front of Naruto. The explosion picked up large amounts of debris and created some gusts of winds. When the debris cleared, Naruto was seen with both his hands stretched out. Both hands had some burns towards his elbows. His front was also burned slightly. He was also breathing heavily. Naruto looked at his hands. Had he not quickly coated most of his body with wind chakra, he would have been burned severely. What was that jutsu? He thought the jutsu had left its footsteps on the ground. When it traveled towards him, there was also a large crater in front of him. He was snapped out of his thoughts when the stranger appeared in front of him with his right hand stretched out towards him. Shit, he cursed as he saw the same jutsu being charged at him. He quickly disappeared in a yellow flash before the jutsu was blasted across the clearing. He had marked a tree earlier. During the fight, he disappeared back to the clearing to see the man waiting for him. Two clones came into existence before him. One created a Rasengan before charging towards the enemy. Naruto held out his right hand and formed a Rasengan, but the Rasengan changed shape and became a four-bladed shuriken. The screeching noise followed. Naruto looked to see how his clone was doing. He smiled. It was busy. The other clone stretched out both its hands towards the jutsu. Naruto held it, channeled fire chakra into the jutsu. Within seconds, Naruto held his complete jutsu. The jutsu was now on complete fire, literally. He winced when he got memories from his destroyed clone. It was the same jutsu that burned his hands that destroyed his clone. His opponent turned his focus to him. The black eyes looked at his jutsu curiously. It did not matter now. He had completed his jutsu. He took out a three-pronged kunai with his left hand and threw it at the man. The man merely tilted his head to avoid it, but he did not expect Naruto to suddenly appear before him via a yellow flash. Shikuten, Raisin Shuriken, he yelled, hitting the stranger the powerful jutsu. As soon as it hit, he disappeared again in a yellow flash to avoid being caught in the blast. Boom! A large scorching explosion rocketed throughout the battlefield, causing Naruto to shield his eyes. There was a large crater, larger than any other. As a result of the explosion, there was no sign of the attacker. Naruto smiled. He had never tried the jutsu before. Itachi had burned him from using S-rank jutsus. While at the hideout it was a success, it had done what he had created. It turned the enemy into ash. He sighed and sat down to recover his breath. Meanwhile, Orochimaru chuckled darkly with a satisfied grin. After watching the battle with Naruto and his test subject he had been watching from afar, who better to give him the data he required than the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki? Naruto-kun has become strong and is quite skilled, Kabuto commented. Impressed with the blonde's skills, he was indeed wrong when he said Naruto had no shinobi skills, but he could not forget that the Naruto back then and now were different indeed. He, as Orochimaru said after getting his laughter under control, I am surprised that he can use Minato's jutsu. That last jutsu was powerful. I am interested in it. Certainly he would not mind using a jutsu of that power. He always was craving for new jutsus. The jutsu Naruto had used to obliterate his test subject was interesting and wonderfully attracting. The test subject did better than I had expected. A pity Naruto-kun destroyed it. We could have taken its remains and studied them further, Kabuto stated, the disappointment clear in his voice. Any scientist would be sad at the loss of such a subject. Don't worry about that, we still have the original. That was just a clone of the original I made. I wanted to see how a clone would do before I could finish work on the original. It is a curious specimen, isn't it? Hi Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto said with a nod. I am still amazed that you created something like this. Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto was indeed impressed. He knew his master was a genius. The man was a work of genius himself, but this was just special. He had never seen anything like it before. Even he could not create something indigenous as this. He would never come close to doing so. He wished his master had allowed him to be involved, though he had only been useful in collecting data. And the DNA Orochimaru wanted, he also knew what went around and what he was creating, but he was not involved with the creation process. Orochimaru had insisted on doing it alone. Perhaps since he was brought here today they would finish the weapon together. After seeing the blueprints of the project his master had invested his time on, he had become increasingly curious and a bit excited to see it, but Orochimaru was oddly keeping him out. If it and that fool Danzu thought I could not create it, Orochimaru said with a snort. The weapon's power is astonishing. If the copy could do this, what more will be the original be able to do? The prospect of finding out thrills me, the snake Sannin said, grinning in all corners. In all honesty, he was excited. This was his pet project. Like any scientist, he was happy when his research finally paid off, and now he had just witnessed the result of his research and hard work. He will certainly be happy when he does get his hands on it. Kabuto said he doubted that his master would give the project to Danzu if it proved to exceed his expectations. He knew his master better, yes, but I might just decide to keep it for myself. Yap, he definitely knew his master better than anyone. Let's go, Kabuto, we have work to finish. Orochimaru stated he had seen what he wanted to see and had collected enough competitive data. He had witnessed his creation battle. Even though it ended up being destroyed in a way he would not have wished for it to be, he was still happy. He would not have minded to take it back to his hideout and use it for further research. Hi Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto said, and followed his master like any faithful servant. He smiled though when he heard Orochimaru say that had to mean they were going to finish the project together. He would be satisfied with it even despite not having taken any real part in the creation. Back with Naruto, there was a question ringing inside his head. Who was this man he had killed? He did not get any answers before the man died. He did not even say a word to him. That left him curious. Who could it had been, and who sent him? No one would surely just randomly come to attack and be killed. This was far from something to be called a coincidence or something that just happens. He had a feeling that the man sent to battle specifically him, but for what purpose? Was it an attempt on his life? No, it did not certainly look that way. It seemed that the man just wanted to battle before he died. So then why did he just want to battle? And with him so many questions that required to be answered, and he was not going to get any of the answers since he had turned the stranger into ash. But knowing that the stranger was gone to not stop the questions raining inside his head, anyone would be curious about the event that had just taken place. But he was not paranoid enough to think that an assassin or a mercenary was sent to kill him. He had no such thoughts, but that just left more questions he could not answer, nor even come close to figuring out. Naruto looked at himself. His hands were still spotting burns. The technique that had hit him was really powerful. He had not seen anything like it before. It shot at him like a beam, deadly beam of energy. He knew it was no ordinary jutsu. If he could hurt him like that, he was glad, though his secondary defense held on, or perhaps he would have been severely injured. But the burns he had suffered were not anything serious. Kyuubi would begin healing them anytime soon. He had not sustained any other alarming injury. He was a bit tired though. The man Knew how to punch and kick. He had felt like he was being kicked by Guy all over again. The man was also fast and seemed to have been calm the entire time they battled. He did not show any signs of distress or any emotion for that matter. Jiraiya whistled as he looked at Naruto. I see that is what you have been hiding, he said, walking towards the blonde. He had witnessed some of the battle. You have some good defensive jutsus, and can use 3 elements. I did notice that you used lightning through your blade, which leads me to believe that your lightning element is not quite strong without the blade. Electric blade. Still, you use your sword very excellently, the Sannin stated, and after all that battle, all he got were burns on both his hands. I do think there's more to it, he thought. Naruto stood up and looked at Jiraiya blankly. The Sannin continued, I was right after all to recommend you to Heim for the promotion of Jounin. Really, Jiraiya? That is what is most important here. I just was attacked by an unknown man, Naruto stated calmly. Take the compliment, brat. Some people would kill to be complimented by one of the Sannin, Jiraiya stated, irritate, and besides there's nothing to work on since you destroyed everything. I doubt he was going to talk anyway. He did not say a word the entire we fought, Naruto said nonchalantly. What was that technique you used, Jiraiya asked, genuinely curious about the technique. Anyone would be interested in a jutsu that can turn anyone to Ash Rasengan as the base, mixed with wind and fire chakra, Naruto said. Oh, you completed the Rasengan. Minato was never able to do that. How long did it take you to do it? Not too long, Naruto gave a vague answer. He was not wearing a forehead protector to define which village he came from now, and Naruto was going back to more serious matters. I did not recognize him from anywhere, not even that jutsu he used, the Sannin stated with a thoughtful expression. For all his years of living he had seen a variety of jutsus, but the jutsu he had seen was unlike any other. He was also curious as to who the stranger was. A pity Naruto had destroyed his body. He could have sent it to Konoha to be examined. Did you sense it? Jiraiya nodded, his expression becoming slightly serious. He had sensed how sinister the chakra of the man felt. The feeling did not make him feel comfortable at all. He was used to feeling such foul chakra from Jinchuriki or bijus, but not a normal shinobi. His chakra was black. Have you ever seen anyone with black chakra? Jiraiya shook his head. Even Orochimaru, who was evil in all sense of the word, did not have evil chakra. It felt like a biju's chakra, Naruto said, bringing both his hands in front. It is also a lot more potent and harmful. My burns have yet to disappear. Normally such things would have already disappeared, but the process of healing is taking longer than it should. Jiraiya looked at Naruto's hands. Indeed, his burns were still visible. Naruto healed faster because of Kyuubi and his Uzumaki genes. Burns like that would have healed a long time ago, but because what caused them was not normal, the burns were taking their time to disappear. I will send a word to Heim, he said finally. I doubt she will know something, and it is not like that man will just appear again.